everything's posted, everything's recorded. You have resources at the end on the later slides. So if you could hold your questions, I hope everything will be answered when we get through the slide deck. So let's move on. Okay, top 10. Number 10, follow the calendar. Okay, so when you're the president, there's a calendar laid out, and it's kind of like the same one every year that we use, with slight, deadline changes, of course. You're as the president, you're the official spokesperson and representative of your organization. So you speak for your school. So you shouldn't be worried about doing everything yourself. You have a team, and this is all about a team, and you're building the infrastructure that will continue to last after you leave office. Okay, next slide. And Michelle is going to throw a calendar in the chat, and it will help you know what needs to happen. Okay, number 9, how to lead a meeting. This is the fun part. So the president should run all the PTA meetings. You're the representative. There's a lot of key points. Next slide, please. Okay, I'm not going to go through all this, but just some key points to remember. Solicit agenda items from the board. You're a team, just put it together, and when you're ready, post it, get that meeting, and stick to the agenda. Just respect everyone's time, start on time, finish on time, and include some fun stuff in there. You're going to have a lesson in parliamentary procedures later on. So there's a lot of, procedural things, but it's pretty simple. Call the meeting to order, go down the agenda. Each person speaks to their agenda item, and then you move on. So that's pretty much it. And you get the hang of it. It sounds intimidating, but not really. So next slide. Okay, meet with the principal. Number 8, you want to meet with your principal because that person is your partner in crime, and you always want to meet with them more than, just once a month. You want to make sure you tuned into the school community, and there's a lot of resources on this as well. There's capta.org, and we'll talk about this later. Gives you a lot of basics on admin and PTA, and there's a lot of great web pages. There's a lot of self-assessments for PTA presidents and principals, and there's some brochures on this as well too. So you have a stake in the school because your kids go there. You want the school to succeed because kids don't succeed in silos, they thrive in communities. So you're looking out for all the kids, and the principal's job is to take care of the school community and lead those efforts to build this awesome environment for your kids to learn. So you guys are partners. So make sure you communicate regularly, meet, and discuss, so you're always on the same page. So that was number 8. Let's move to number 7. Set some goals. Goal setting. It's great that when you start the school out, you're like, all right, what do we do? Well, let's set some goals. Okay, great. So the goals are going to guide what you want to do. And the goals could be anything, because each school environment is different, and you're looking for things that resonate with your school community, that is important to your particular group. And we're from all over the city, so we all have different needs. So one advice: when you have goals, make them smart. Anyone ever hear of that? SMART goals? All right, great. See a couple of hands now. S, specific. You have to really define what you want to do. It can't be nebulous. It's so specific that everyone knows. It's so well defined that everyone in the community knows about it. Measurable. If you can't measure it, you can't improve it, right? How do you know what your progress is? Measure it. Set up a baseline. We want to hit 500 members. Okay, great. Let's set the baseline. Where are we at today? Is it realistic to, oh, we'll get to R later. But yeah, measure. Attainable. Is it realistic? You're asking for, 300 members? Yeah, maybe, right? Can we ask for 1 million members? Probably not. So it has to be attainable, has to be achievable. So moving on to R, has to be realistic and relevant too. Does it make sense that you want to have so many members? Well, of course, but maybe not 5 million. But why is membership important? And we'll get to that later as well. Because many hands make work light, right? So when Michelle talked about having 3 people, 4 at Sherman, that's a lot of work. But if you have 100, well, it's a lot easier and you could get a lot more done. Timely, when should we do this by? Does it make sense to get 1 million members or 500 in 2-3 years? Probably not, because it doesn't fit your time frame. It has to make sense. So does 2-month work, 3-month? Yeah, let's set that goal. So when you have all those components and you put it together, that's, congratulations, you have your SMART goals. All right, that shall we move on to number 6, delegate. Let's see, delegate. Yes, don't try to be a superhero. It's a lot of work. Many hands, make work light. Sustainability. When you have a structure in place, when you have a lot of people who know their job that they can handle, given their balancing schedules and between work and other commitments, it has to be sustainable. You have to have the resources that keep coming and will last throughout the year. Less burnout. If you're gonna sit on something for a few days, and you're gonna burn yourself out, and you're not gonna be good to anyone. And it's gonna be fun too, right? We love big parties. A party of 1 is not as fun as a party of 100. So make sure you delegate and share. We love to share in PTA. That includes the work too. All right, moving on to 5, follow the money. Money makes the world go round. And as officers in the PTA, don't leave it all to the treasurer. We all have a fiduciary responsibility to the organization, and we have a process in place, and we have checks and balances. We have 2 check signers. And again, I won't go into details, but the treasurer's training will give you more information on that. But we have a structure in place, and procedures, policies, we're all set. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel. We're good. Moving on to number 4, know your resources. Let's go to the next slide, please. My favorite resource is capta.org. Go to capta.org and do a search of any topic you want, and it'll pop up. We have a lot of people on the state board, 120, including board of managers and committees, and a lot of brain power, and it's all poured into this one website. We have a national website as well, pta.org, but capta.org is the best. SFPTA for a city, we have a great website too, just to throw that out there. We have toolkits. We had real toolkits when we met in person, but we have online toolkits as well, and that will show you how to do your job. We talked about bylaws, and we have a loss and prevention guide, and that's one of the great things about being in PTA. We're insured, and we've used them before. So yeah, it's a great program. I think it's only $200 per unit. We have a big state umbrella insurance policy and divvy it up between the units. $200, best deal in town. And Ed 100, if you want to know how California's education system works, ed100.org. All right, moving on to number 3. Number three. Let's see. Make communication work for your unique community. Personalize it. Use the format that works best. If you guys are, into passing notes, in-person meetings, in emails, texting each other, find something that works. And I want to throw a shout out to CIS, who has a parent database, parentdb.com, and people, go, and Roosevelt has that now too. So shout out to Roosevelt. Other people use Google Groups. So it's whatever works for your community, and you guys decide that. But whatever you decide, please make sure everyone is on the same page. Most important thing, be transparent. We want people to feel like they're part of an organization. We have to build that trust. And when you see everything, share everything, people just love it, right? The other points, be specific and brief. Oh, be careful about CCs and BCCs. We don't want to accidentally send things to the entire school, blind copy people, and yeah, gossip is bad. Let's try not to do that. Gossip is a sign of an unhealthy organization, and that's not us, or that's not who we want to be. So, as president, you want to be the leader of your organization at your school, and these are some of the things that keep in mind. Consider topics. Uh, yeah, I think I covered everything there. Yeah, there's a lot of privacy issues. People don't want to share their email. Just keep these things in mind. Okay, let's move on to number 2. Plan your exit strategy. Planning your exit strategy. Think of yourself as the coordinator. You're the official spokesperson. Don't do everything yourself. One key thing to remember is your first day in office is your first day that you're looking for your successor. So start thinking about who's going to be in the next term. You want to start building that pipeline, start building that community, and create that leadership base where when the next term comes around, you're not worried about having to start over again. All that you've built can be carried on to the next term, rather than lost because your kids graduated and the new board has to step in. Yeah, so please keep that in mind. Have that exit strategy. I think a lot of you are feeling some of that pain. So please start thinking about potentials out there, people who you run into, who seem interested and passionate about something. Tap into that passion and tap into that energy. Let's see. Did I get everyone here? Yeah, invite everyone. Okay, and number 1, the most important rule in PTA is, drum roll, thank you. We're a volunteer organization, so we can't pay people to do things, but people feel good when they accomplish something. And I always use the example of when you're in summer school, or when you have a summer job. You do something, you get paid. You do something, you get paid. You do something, you get paid. It's not very rewarding. It's very transactional. But what happens when you do something and you're not asking for cash, something that has a greater purpose, like your kids, your family, your community? When you serve lunches at a senior center, you don't get paid, but at the end of the day, you feel really good about that. Why is that? Because you feel that sense of fulfillment, that you've accomplished something. You didn't get money, but you got a lot of thank yous. Biologically, that's oxytocin that you're getting a shot of. But hey, whatever it is, you feel really good about yourself. And volunteers in PTA will feel that way too. When they do something, you should acknowledge that. Say thank you and say it a lot. People just feel really good about that. When people get acknowledged for their contributions, they feel valued for what they did. They're going to come back again. So when you're building this great organization, you need people, right? One thing a leader needs a lot is followers, right? You need people who will toot your horn and follow the mission and believe in what they do. And when you say thank you, it's validated. So make sure you say it a lot. because it's free too. So say that a lot. Let's see. I think that was our top one. And a few other tips: acknowledge good, past good work. Always listen and learn. Everyone has something to share. Motivate and delegate. Tap into the energy, fire it up, get people excited, and delegate the work. Follow through with your commitments, follow through with your actions. It builds, creates that accountability that leads to results. Take responsibility. And again, say thank you. And why are we here? It's all about the kids. And that's all it is. And that's it. That's my last slide. So hopefully that wasn't too much at once. And any questions?
I think I'm mostly just seeing comments in the chat, but not questions. So maybe if people have specific questions, you can raise your hand and we can answer them.
Okay.
There's one. Nancy's got a question.
Okay, Nancy, hi.
Yeah, hi. Nice to see you, Albert. I just had a comment, and it was about communication. That in our diverse schools, it's important to realize that not everybody receives messages the same way. And so think about, not everybody has a job where they look at the computer all day long, that some people need to get messages by text. Some people need to see things posted or have things in the backpack. So think about how the different parents in your school will need to receive the messages to make sure that everyone gets them. Because there's no such thing as repeating too often if you're using a different medium. Like, I saw it in the flyer, I saw it in the principal's note, I saw it in the PTA email. You can repeat things too often in the same venue over and over again, but parents, sometimes they need to hear it a lot. And the other thing is that as a PTA leader, many people need to hear things from someone they know or someone they trust. And so you as a communicator to the people you know in your school is also really important.
Yes, thanks, Nancy. Yeah, as a PTA officer, you're looked upon as a person of authority in the school community. So make sure everyone's networked together and people are going to listen to you. In our school, we have Wednesday envelopes. That's like the lowest common denominator where people get paper notices. So don't assume because you emailed something out that someone should have gotten the information. Make sure you follow the lowest common denominator and don't exclude anyone. We're all about equity and inclusion practices, and we want to make sure everyone feels that they're part of the PTA. And everyone's different. Learn to embrace those differences. We have more similarities than differences, so we need to embrace those. Any other questions?
Hi, I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yes, Linda, go ahead.
Hi, thanks, Albert. This has been a really informational. From a communication perspective, I was wondering, is there any centralized support efforts that can help with translation? For example, if it's in a language that the other parents or the other members of the PTA just don't have the expertise in. Does the school district or the second PTA have some assistance there?
The second district, well, we partner with the school district, so they have a translation department, and we could work with them to address our needs. We've had translators at our meetings, and it's something you have to think ahead of time what you need and make a request. And the school site administrator, the principal, should be the point person for what you need. So that's why when you're partnering with your principal, we kind of mentioned that they're your partner in crime. So if that's an issue, let's talk to the principal, and we'll figure something out.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Maybe Albert, I can add on
Yes.
to that a little bit. The SFUSD translation unit sent us some information earlier on in the pandemic about requesting interpretation services for Zoom meetings. And so they have a process for that. I sent it out back when they sent it to us, but we can send that out through the officer listservs again for interpretation. But we know that also they have limited capacity. So they have said that they'll help us whenever they can, right? But I think one of the things you're bringing up that so many schools experience is that there is, yeah, Sue's just wrote, there's such a backlog, they just have limited capacity. So two suggestions I would have is that there is, through the state PTA, you can apply for translation grants. So if you're looking for money, if you don't have money in your PTA budget to pay for someone to do translation or interpretation, you can apply for a grant that will help you have funding specifically for that. And the other thing is you might be able to just reach out to folks in your own school community who might be bilingual. It may be hard to find them. I was lucky when I was a PTA president that we did have a couple of bilingual folks who are willing to do translation for us for written materials, because it just allowed us to have a quicker turnaround time by using somebody on site who was doing that as a volunteer. But we had to be really careful to give them enough time and make sure that we set expectations on what they need and we don't overuse them, because it can be really time consuming. So if they need 48 hours or 72 hours or a week, then make sure that that's really clear if you're able to find a volunteer to help you with that. But I do recommend that you all have a translation or interpretation line in your budget. It's very useful. And it's one thing we'll talk about more in a little while when we're talking about creating communities of belonging, is making sure that everyone can access our meetings and interactions. So that's one thing I wanted to add, but I don't know if anybody else, I don't know what's been happening in the chat here. So but thanks for bringing that up.
Mm-hmm. Okay, any other questions? Please, we have some time. We're actually 5 minutes ahead of schedule, so we're doing good. Okay, if there's no questions.
I just wanted to say how cute that presentation was. All the little characters and stuff. It was super awesome.
Sue, I spent, when I was procrastinating, none of you know what procrastinating is like, right? I found there's a website called SlideGo that has a whole bunch of free Google slide themes. And so that's where I pulled it from. So you can go there and they're free. So there's a bunch of really cute ones.
Thanks, Michelle. Everyone loves the slides. Linda, go.
Yeah, sorry, just one more question, unless you're going to cover this as part of the budget portion. Propose back to our board.
I'm sorry, Linda, I didn't get that. Can you repeat that? Okay, maybe we can address that. Linda, you want to try again?
Okay, can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Sorry about that. I'm wondering if this is something you're going to cover as part of the budget review later, but what has everyone earmarked in terms of translation services, so I know roughly what to bring back to my board?
Albert, can I share something?
Yeah, of course, Jessica, go ahead. Marina has $700.
So we sent our principal the calendar of our PT SA general meetings. She then handed it off to one of her staff at Galileo, who sent the requests for everything in the fall to the district translation department.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there was only one meeting that they weren't able to have interpreters available. We've had Spanish, Chinese, as well as Arabic. And to my knowledge, that was free. So we didn't have a budget because Galileo, I sent the calendar to the principal and she took care of that. What I would like to utilize though in the future is referencing back to what Nancy mentioned about different communication styles, is that some families aren't reading the emails, and the school has that messenger option where families can get audio messages through text. I don't know if any other PTA units were successful using or asking the school to use their messenger to remind parents of meetings, but in the future, that's what I would love, because I think I missed a lot of families that just aren't into the email communication style.
I see. Okay, yeah, I think you could mention it to the principal, and I think we've all gotten those phone calls. I mean, I have 241-6000 on my speed dial. I mean, it's just, messages coming in from either the central, the main, 555 Franklin central admin, or the school sites. So I've had both, and we could talk to the principal to make sure that's happening for your particular school community, because I get those all the time from my elementary, middle, and high school. So
we'll try. I'll help with Galileo with that. But the response I received was that that's only used for emergency purposes. So Galileo doesn't use the messenger in that way. So we don't get inundated with.
Okay, I guess
we only get it from the superintendent, or I'm subscribed to affinity groups, African American, APAC. But yeah, Galileo doesn't. She said that's reserved for emergencies.
Oh, well, that doesn't seem to be
we'll work on that.
Yeah, because I get announcements for the annual gala, the fundraisers, and don't forget, buy your tickets by this Friday. I get those all the time. So I'm surprised here, but yeah, talk to the principal, see what's going on. And
we'll try.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you, Albert. I love your presentation. I love Nancy's comment.
Thanks. Anything else from anyone else?
Hi, can I just jump in?
Yes, hey, Gina.
Hi, this is Gina. Hello.
Marina, how are you?
I'm with Marina. I just got voted into the second term. Woohoo!
Yay! Woohoo!
So here I am, and I wanted to just make a couple of comments on translation. And I've been in the PTA game for it seems like 8 years now. Has it really? And translation has always been the big, the big question mark. How do we do this? How do we do it timely? And luckily, we do have support from the district for our PTA meetings and PTO meetings. But where I feel like we struggle a lot, at least I do, is in the regular communications. I try sometimes to do a weekly bulletin, or, sometimes just something comes up, you want to send the message out, and it's hard to get that quick translation for people. And in fact, I think most of my communication last year, because I was always running behind, was just in English. So this year, and I thought it was such a boon, we put a line item in for translation. And part of that was, I thought, we had this Spanish speaker who wanted to be on the board, who expressed interest, and she was very concerned about the language. In the end, she did not follow through with it, but it got me to thinking, well, I mean, that shouldn't be a question for people. They should know that there's a space for them. And so we made it a point to put it in our budget to show people that's not a barrier, and we're serious about it, and we want everyone to be involved, even if you don't speak English. And there was something I wanted to say, I forgot. But anyway, that's why we have that there. We haven't had it before. I don't know if that's the right number. We want to use it for board meetings if we have somebody who doesn't speak English wanting to be on the board. Oh, also, I remember if you use MoneyMinder, I found out that can be translated into Spanish. I'm not sure about other languages, possibly in other languages. So if you want to translate your budgets or your financial reports, MoneyMinder has that built into it. So just putting that out there for translation. That's it.
Thanks, Gina, for sharing. I think that's great. I know at Groton this year, we are really looking into bringing in more inclusive into just overall, because we have gotten feedback that our communication has been in English and sometimes it's not easily understood. So thank you so much for bringing this up and sharing your experience. This is very timely for us.
Thank you for sharing, Gina. Okay, how's everyone else? Any other questions? All right, if not, we're doing good on time. We're right on schedule, actually. Let's take a 5-minute break, shall we?